Hello to those of you that are joining. Say hi. How's your day going? Where are you tuning in from so I can say hello to you properly? Hello, everybody. How are you all? Hello. Say hi. Let me connect with you. I much prefer being in the same room, but this is the next best thing. So say hello. Hi, Lydia. Hello. Hi, Ian. Where are you tuning in from today? Hi, Anna. Great to have you joining us. Hello, Carnal. Hi, Gabby. Hi, Amit. Hi, Tracy. Lots of people I know. And some new ones too. Hi, Erica. Pennsylvania. That's very, very cool. Hi, Joe. Hi, Eunice. Hello, everybody. Oh, I'm so pleased to be here with you all. A little pause in the madness. A little chance for everyone to reflect, take some time for themselves, which, let's face it, we all struggle with, especially those of us that are juggling multiple demands on our time. It's really nice to have a chance just to stop, pause, and take a moment out to really think about how we can create the shifts that matter to us most so that we can be healthy, happy, successful, whatever that means to each of us individually, because of course it's completely different to each and every one of us. Hi, Alicia. Good to have such a wonderful international crowd joining. We're just going to give it another minute or two. We've got nearly 100 of you online at the moment, which is just amazing. Just going to give it a minute or two just while people are hopping over from whatever they have just put down at work. So hi, Colette, lovely to be with you. Hi, Carol. How's everything in Manchester today? How are we all doing? How are we feeling energetically? Just pop in the chat box for me. One being really low energy, just so I know exactly sort of where our mood is, and it'll help me sort of create the right session. So one, hi Peachy, hi. So one being really low level, 10 being I am absolutely off the charts, energetic, feeling fabulous. Where is everyone else? Where are you right now? And even if you're watching this on the replay, then you can still rate it. Fantastic. Okay, so we've got a real range. We've got lots of people feeling sort of middle, some low, some higher. Fantastic. Okay. All right. Well, I will work the session to work for you. Hi, Samantha. Caroline. Oh my goodness. Hello, Nicola. There's lots of people I haven't seen for ages online, which is just what a treat. Okay. So I'm going to let you all know I have the world's biggest water bottle with me, but you're going to have to bear with me because I might need to have a drink halfway through this. So I hope you'll be kind to the fact that my water bottle is inappropriately large. All right. Okay. So this session today on really building our confidence is our second session around confidence building. And you are able, if you haven't received the first copy, so the first session, the first recording, I really urge you to reach out to Jessica at candcsearch.co.uk. I don't know if you mind, Jess, will you just pop your email address into the chat box? And Jessica will then be, or Jess as we know her, Jess will then be very happy to share with you all, anyone that requests it, the first session that wasn't there. Who was in the first session? Who joined me for the first confidence session? Who was able to be with me? So some of you don't need to have done, so don't worry if you haven't. But if you haven't, reach out to Jess and we can make sure that you get that first session sent out to you, just because that will equip you with a ton of tools. So let me introduce myself. I don't think you all, by the way, don't all share your email addresses just for GDPR. I just wanted Jess to share hers just so that she's got the opportunity to support you. So reach out to her directly, just for GDPR purposes. Reach out to her directly on her email address. Otherwise, you might struggle to keep track. So today's session is going to look at some more practical tools to help you build your confidence. Now, why on earth does this matter to me so much? Well, I'm going to touch on a couple of little bits of who I am. So this is me. I'm Lucy. I'm the founder of CNC Search. I'm the founder of CNC Academy, an uber proud founder. We are an all-female team that are based in the heart of London. And we are, I think, probably the best recruiters in the world. But we also work a lot with training and development. And we have an amazing learning and development platform. And I'm really proud to say that we have now helped support pro bono 7,000 individuals. We've just hit the 7,000. So I'm really passionate about sharing knowledge and lifting as we climb. I've had the opportunity to use my platform to speak globally, and I've spoken across the world, mainly around unlocking your unlimited potential. Why the hell does that matter to me? Well, I mean, some of the things that we all will have experienced. I was bullied very badly at school. I had some really significant life experiences in my teenage years. I went on to have quite a challenging first marriage, and all of these things that meant on the outside, I was very good at masking. You would have thought I had most of it all together. But on the inside, I really struggled for those two things to match up, my inner world with my outer world. And as a result, my confidence really was an area for me that impacted my capability to deliver my very best self, both in work, in terms of things I wanted to get involved in speaking up and having boundaries, tons of different ways. And my experiences won't have been unique. And I know that. And that's partly why, because of spending the last 6 years interviewing amazing individuals that so often doubt themselves, but also becoming friends with many of my clients now over the years. I've known them for a very long time, and we tend to build great relationships, and realizing that actually, whether you're a CEO or whether you are starting out in the post room, it's probably not post rooms anymore, are there, in businesses? But if you are in the post room of a business, that actually confidence is something that we all struggle with. Now, confidence means in Latin, so confide is with trust. Confidence is not loud, brash. It's not the biggest personality in the room. It's not the person even standing on stage. It's not the person, it's not even Harry Styles. Confidence isn't that, although they may all be confident. Actually, confidence is trusting ourselves. That's what true confidence really means, with trust. And it really helps me to remember that actually, as long as I am making sure that I'm aligned, and you too, that we all have access both to our unlimited potential, but also to true, deep, rock solid confidence. And the difference that makes, the difference is extraordinary in our ability to show up for ourselves, for others, our ability to really lean into challenges and change, our ability to speak up at work, and our ability to truly unleash our potential for the greater good, wherever that may be. This is available to you too. I promise, because I've been through the journey myself. And it's not going to be a silver bullet today. It's not going to be that you leave this session and, oh my goodness, suddenly all of this is unlocked and available to you and you believe it deeply. But the small shifts lead to great change. And for me, what I know for sure is a consciousness, an awareness, and an intention is 80% of the chance to change. And then the rest needs action, because of course nothing changes if nothing changes. So I want us to just have a read the room for you personally, not me, not anybody else. And there's no judgment in this room. Just share with me, what does confidence mean to you? Or if it's easier, if you had access to feeling that true rock solid confidence, that sense of complete self-trust, where it doesn't matter whether somebody else likes you or not, because you know you're okay. exactly as you are. Just pop in the chat box for me, just so that we all understand that confidence means different things to different people. Yeah, so some really great shares coming, being able to take initiative, believing in yourself. Yeah, ability to speak up, conviction, not being in constant self-doubt, definitely. Yeah, so few speaking up, self-belief, not worrying about what others think. Yep, so letting go of that compare and despair, letting go of that comparing our inner worlds to other people's curated Instagram outer worlds. Yeah, being comfortable in your own skin. Yeah. Being present. I mean, confidence helps us to be present too, right? To plan, to be strategic, to be creative, to connect. So one of the big things for me, the two sort of big C's that come for me, that come to mind to me when I think about what true confidence is one is courage and one is connection. Being able to have that courage and connection, being able to be brave, to take that next step, have that real sense of ownership, letting go of what isn't serving me. Yeah. Yeah, because you are all more than good enough. You are all more than enough exactly as you are. And the very fact that you're here is a demonstration that you want to commit to evolving, to learning, to growing. And that in itself is an act of courage. And courage is the first step in building confidence. So I'm really here to be really pleased to be here with you today. So as I mentioned, reach out to Jess for that first session. And today we're going to touch on some other tools and some other aspects of how to help you build confidence and hopefully help you unlock a little bit more of your potential. So we're going to stop at the end of the session for any questions and answers. I'm going to stop the presentation just so that I can connect with you a little bit more easily. And you are so welcome to ask me any questions that you may have. I know a few of you submitted some questions right at the very beginning or before the session, but that's going to be the moment, I think, where we're going to look at those. If you have a piece of pen or paper, if you have a pen and a piece of paper or a notebook, or indeed you just want to make some notes on your phone later, that would be wonderful. I'm going to touch also on a couple of people that I really think their work can help in terms of supporting you building your confidence. So we'll make a note of those and we'll share those links as well. One of the main things I want you to leave with today is that we have all these strange notions, mainly reinforced by society, and is that confidence is arrogance, or confidence means that somehow there's less for me. The brighter your light shines, the less light there is for me. But actually, when someone's confidence is true and comes from a place of integrity and alignment and strong values, actually, my ability to feel comfortable in my own skin and feel comfortable and confident and competent in what I do, if I shine, you get to shine. The whole notion that we have in terms of that fear around confidence is this notion often that will be seen in a negative light. So just pop in the chat box for me. When you think of a really strong, confident, let's say woman, for example, in this, which is how I identify, what are some of the negative things? What are some of the negative connotations that can come up for you? And I certainly know myself that in the past, I have certainly had some of those negative connotations. So just pop in the chat box, what are certain things that might come up that aren't, when you think about sort of connecting that with confidence, aggressive, yes, arrogance, bossy, yeah, these are all, she has it all, yeah, abruptness, pompous, that's a good word. Rude, yeah, so there are a lot. Direct. Okay. Yeah. Who does she think she is? Yes, quite. And we know that all of these things tend to be a mirror to ourselves rather than a true reflection of who that person is. And you know what? I've really got to that point now where I'm okay, you're okay, but actually what you think of me is none of my business. And what I think of you is none of your business. And what I mean by that is that ultimately I can only show up with integrity, honesty, and doing my best on any given day. And that's what I have to offer. But being confident in my own skin doesn't mean that I'm any of those things that we've just mentioned, you know, patronizing or dominating or aggressive. Aggressive is one that comes up a lot, particularly connected to confident women. You know, we've seen The Devil Wears Prada and all those kind of movies, films, adverts, all that sort of stuff. So let's talk about the fact that ultimately, I truly believe that your presence and your ability to tap into that deep-rooted sense of self and becoming more confident in who you are will only lead to you having greater impact on those around you. Family, friends, relationships, but most importantly, the relationship you have with yourself. So we're going to start by looking at 3 different areas in your lives right now that I want you to reflect on. So there are 3 core areas. There are lots more when you look at the different, if you've looked at the wheel of life, if any of you want to have the wheel of life, then have a look at that, because it's really great at reflecting on the areas that may be enhancing your confidence or maybe taking away your confidence. But I've just for today, I've looked at 3 areas, which are environment, knowledge, and skills. So your environment for today's, let's say for today's session, I want you to think about who you're surrounding yourself with in terms of people, your immediate environment. So have you been able to create a nice, warm, safe space at home that you can go to? The environment and the people with which you work, the places that you go to most. So how is your environment supporting you? Are you surrounded by people that lift you up, that champion you, that cheerlead you, that accept you for who you are, that challenge you? Or are you surrounded by people that are having a whinge, having a moan, a gripe, gossiping, all those really low-level energy stuff? So how are you being impacted by those aspects? What about the places that you're going to? Are they enhancing your confidence? And that might be things like being able to go to the odd event that's really helping to give you a boost, or maybe it's an exercise studio or the gym, or places that are really going to help build your confidence by getting physically stronger. How is your environment supporting or perhaps diminishing your confidence? And you are very, very free to share in the chat box. Equally, you can just take some notes. What about your knowledge of self? Who are you? Who are you really? What makes you you? What are your special gifts? You know, over 7 billion people in the world. There is no one else like you. You are entirely unique. And the footprint that you're leaving on this earth is unique to you too. But do you know who you are? Have you taken that time to really discover and get connected and own your skills, your capabilities? Do you know why you're doing what you're doing? How you do it? Why you do it? And do you connect with that often? And lastly, your skills. Now, there is no two ways about it. Learning is such a sister to confidence. The more we become aware, the more conscious we are, the more that we learn, the more we choose learning opportunities, the more we build this fantastic set of skills and tools. So when you have a little look at those three areas that I have just touched on, environment, knowledge, skills, where's your focus? Where does your focus need to be? We can't, we cannot possibly fix all of the little aspects of our lives that will help us take us towards the way we want to feel in terms of our confidence instantaneously. We need to pick small areas. But I wonder for you, when you think of your environment, your knowledge, or your skills, perhaps whether there's a focus point for you that would really make a difference right now. So I also wanted to share with you that our thoughts are not facts. Our feelings are not facts. Our feelings are signposts, and our thoughts are something to get curious about. But we're also listening to what we say. And in the way that we frame our speech can often help build confidence or diminish it. So let me ask you this. Are you somebody that will say, oh, just a little bit, or, can I just, would it be okay if I'm so sorry, but can I just grab 5 minutes of your time? I'm so sorry, this won't take 2 seconds. Or I'm probably wrong, but I'm just wondering if. Or does that make sense? And these are ways that we diminish ourselves. So let's have some honesty. Are those some of the speech habits that you are currently using that maybe you could start to let go of? Fantastic. And I just wanted to touch on this because it's really important that we recognize that we are listening to what we say, how we say it, when we say it. And one of the most powerful things we will ever learn is to shift our state in order that we can build confidence. So I'm going to move into something called braving. Now, I'm going to bet that a lot of you have read some of Brené Brown's work. And I am a major fan of Brené Brown. I've read all of her work, done a lot of her workshops. She has an incredibly rich resource library. She's very generous on her website. So if anybody wants to have a look at Brené Brown's site, it is wonderful. But she shares something called braving. Now, if you remember from the first session, and don't worry if you haven't watched it, as I've said, we can share it. There is a formula to building confidence, and it starts with courage. And this is partly based on having a look at Brené's work on braving. And this is a brilliant, absolutely fantastic way to choose to live life intentionally, all of which has this wonderful knock-on effect on our confidence, our self-esteem, our ability to be ourselves, our ability to own our own stuff. So she shares with us this fantastic acronym. The first is boundaries. So setting boundaries and making clear what's okay and what's not okay and why that's the case. Reliability. Do what you say you'll do. And at work, being aware of our competency. Don't overpromise, make sure we can deliver on commitments and balance our competing priorities, but do what you say you will do. Accountability, own your mistakes, apologize when you need to, make amends when it's important. We are all going to mess up. We all get it wrong. All of us, we are all imperfect, and that's okay. What's not okay is not taking accountability. And what's the opposite of accountability? Blame and shaming others, blaming others, gossiping about others are all the opposite of accountability. The next is integrity. So choosing courage over comfort, choosing what's right over what's fun, choosing what's not fast or easy, practicing our values, not just saying we have them. And this means showing up with intention. This has such an enormous impact on our ability to feel comfortable in our own skin and building lasting self-trust. And what does confidence mean? With trust. Non-judgment. Owning how we feel about things and being open to hearing the thoughts, views, and feedback of others without judgment. And my favorite of the acronym is generosity. And we've missed one. I'm so sorry, I have missed one, which is Volt. Sorry, I missed the V in braving. That's very important. I suddenly thought, I'm sure we missed one. So we missed the V. The V stands for Volt. Do not share what is not yours to share. Do not share what is not yours to share. This is a big one. So if I share something with you that's private to me, but I've chosen to trust you, is be that Volt. Don't share it. Don't share what's not yours to share. And the last is generosity. So in extending the most generous interpretation for the intentions, words, and actions of others, where appropriate, obviously. What does that mean? It means that I am trusting that you are trying to do your best. I am looking for the good, not the bad. I'm not actively seeking out red flags. I am choosing to trust that you're doing the very best that you can at any given time. Doesn't mean you don't hold someone else accountable or call out bad behavior or let somebody know that something needs to shift, because that's called integrity and honesty. And sometimes having a difficult conversation or more challenging conversation is about integrity and trust. So for you, when you look at that acronym and you have my word that all of these different aspects will have a huge impact on your confidence should you choose to intentionally show up in this way. Tell me what you'd like to focus on. Share with me. Is there a couple of areas? We are all imperfect. None of us are perfect. We are a constant work in progress. What is it that you would like to focus on? Yourself, acknowledging for you that there are some areas in which that focus will bring intention to create positive change. Directly for your confidence, but also with others. Yeah, so boundaries coming up for some of you. Lots of you. Interesting. Okay, lots of challenges with boundaries. Where's my brilliant boundaries book? Have I got it? Yes, let me grab that. So, for those of you that are struggling with boundaries, and hopefully Jess can put the link in the chat, The Book of Boundaries by Melissa Urban. This is fantastic. Okay, so anybody struggling with boundaries, this is your manual. Absolutely wonderful, really impactful, will make a huge difference to you. And we know that the people that judge others will tend to judge themselves most harshly. And Jess, perhaps if you'd be so kind, we'll put all of these resources in the follow-up from this with the recording as well. Okay, so that's Braving by the wonderful, fabulous Brené Brown. Something that really will make a very, very big difference. Right. Because half of our challenge around the courage to take action, the courage to act in alignment with that acronym Braving, is our challenge with change, our resistance to change, our resistance to making the changes that we need to make, because we find change so difficult, so challenging. We're hardwired for constants. But what if change is the only certainty? And what if half of working on our confidence is also surrendering to what is and not trying to always battle with how things are? Because it is challenging at the moment. There is constant change. And I think the time, back in 2015, 2016, when things were constant, has gone. Change is our only certainty. But that doesn't mean that we can't still tune into our sense of confidence. It just makes it a little more challenging. So I want to talk to you a little bit about self-sabotage. I want to talk to you we're going to touch on it only, and our fear, which stands for false evidence appearing real. There are so many reasons that we get in our own way when it comes to taking the courage to live in alignment with that acronym that I've just shared. Tons. And I've no doubt whatsoever that some of these things have come up for you. I've no doubt whatsoever that some of these things have come up for you. And I'm going to share with you 4 fantastic questions. So I'm going to put this into some context. The next time you're thinking about speaking up, the next time you're thinking about setting a boundary, the next time you're thinking of joining a new club or reaching out to somebody or connecting, going to a networking event, trying something new, getting on the phone, trying a new project, doing something outside of your comfort zone, really showing up, really committing, and you get that little voice in your head and that inner critic starts piping up because our brain's thinking, oh gosh, this is new, this is different, I'm hardwired to keep you safe, let's not do this, and that voice comes up. Who does she think she is? Oh, everyone will think you're totally stupid. Oh, you won't make any new friends in that group. Everyone always finds you too much or too difficult, or you're too quiet. Or maybe I'll get rejected. Or what if it doesn't work? What if I can't change? So here are 4 fantastic questions that you can ask yourself to help dial down the inner critic and dial up your inner cheerleader. Get to know that inner cheerleader. Make friends with your inner cheerleader. And this is sometimes a really fantastic way that we can really make that happen. And that is it true? You ask yourself, when you feel one of those thoughts, when one of those thoughts comes up, ask yourself, let's say a typical thought. Oh, I'll never be good enough. Let's try that one. I'll never be good enough. So is it true I'll never be good enough? Well, yes, actually, because remember that time, that teacher, we often come up with these sort of immediate responses. Yes, it is actually true. I'm not good enough. Well, can you absolutely know that it's true? Well, maybe not, because there have been times when I've been complimented for things and I have actually been able to deliver in these certain areas. And then asking yourself this really fantastic question. How do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? So if you decide to buy into that thought, what happens next? So for me, if I buy into the thought that I'm not good enough, what happens is I don't do the thing. I tend to feel not so good about myself. I tend then not to show up in a way that I could. It certainly doesn't allow me to unlock my potential. And it really lowers my energy levels. My fourth question to you is, who would you be without that thought? And this is the incredible Katie Byron. And she, and maybe Jess, if she got a chance to put her website link in, she wrote a book called How to Do the Work. It's one of the most incredible books I've ever come across. She is, again, somebody that is incredibly generous with all of her resources. So is it true? Can you absolutely know it's true? How do you react when that happens? Who would you be without that thought? What would that open up to you if you stopped buying in to those confidence destroying sort of the things that we give our energy to? And our brain is not playing a trick on us. It's designed to try and keep us safe. So it's trying to remind you that if for any reason this thing has happened in the past and you didn't feel so good, maybe you were 7, maybe you were 5, maybe you were 13, that what then happens is we look for evidence that that could ever happen again. Our brain's clever like that. And then, of course, what happens is we buy into the thought. We make it mean something about us that it simply doesn't mean. And it means we get smaller. We don't dull our shine. We don't do the things, and we don't take the acts of courage that will build this lovely sense of self-trust. Instead, maybe we do the classic self-sabotaging things, watch Netflix for too long, or perhaps we scroll on Instagram or TikTok, or maybe we are eating or drinking or shopping. Yeah. So that's a really brave share. And I think, who would I be without those thoughts? I would be bold. I'd be fearless. I wouldn't allow myself to shrink. Amazing. I want that for you. But you can ask yourself those 4 questions at any given moment in the day. And I go back to those questions all the time when I'm having a more challenging time at work, home, children, whatever it may be. Big periods of change, little bit of periods of change, is to ask yourself those questions. And what happens in doing that is, when I was talking about confidence being about with trust, and it's a deep knowing, and it's sort of in your gut, a deep acknowledgement that I am okay as I am, albeit imperfectly perfect. And then ask yourself these curious questions. It makes all the difference. All the difference. Because I bet who you would all be without buying into those thoughts is certainly somebody that feels more comfortable in their own skin, that feels more able to speak up, that feels more able to contribute, to be more creative, to be a little braver, to be a better friend, colleague, partner, parent. And I've included some more questions that we'll share with you that you can ask you to help you to take action. And in the first session, which again, we're going to share again, there were a lot of tools to help you to do that. But I'm speaking at 1:30 for Lucy Brazier for ES. So I'm going to make sure that I am timely. So I want you now to write down 5 I ams, 5 I feel, and 5 I am open to. Now, I have a ton of these written down. I've got about 20 I am, I've got about 20 I feel, I've got about 20 I am open tos, and I build on them all the time. I read them every morning because without them, I can easily slip into self-doubt, into not feeling enough, into compare and despair, into I should, I could, I ought, or regret, or going backwards into the past, or starting to create my own catastrophized future. These help me come back to myself, knowing who I really am. So you might have, I am brave, I am capable, I am warm, I am creative, I am trustworthy, I am hardworking, whatever it might be. I want you to take a moment to write down a few of those things that are true to you. And the next is I feel. So how do you want to go through life feeling? So I feel joy. I feel optimistic. I feel courageous. I feel motivated. And then the last being, I am open to change. I am open to working with what is. I am open to forgiveness. I am open to believing I am more than enough. So then going through that process, so the I am, I feel, I am open to, and you can make this your homework. And it really works, because what it does is it helps us come back to the place where we know who we truly are, and we get to connect with who we truly are. And when those thoughts are coming up, instead of trying to shove them away, is to use the RAIN process. So recognize that feeling, recognize the thought. Remember that the thought is not a fact. It is simply a thought. We have tens of thousands of them every day. So accept it. It's okay to feel like that. You are not in any way less than, broken, or anything else because you think that thought. It's just a thought. Investigate it. Where does that come from? Is it historical? Is it hysterical? Or is it actually helpful? Is it a signpost? Is it a piece of information? Is it something we need to pay attention to? And then work to nurture yourself. What's something kind and supportive that you can do for yourself as a result? So we know these things. We touched on them in the first session, but looking at different lenses by which we can see what is yours, perhaps the other person involved, and then the advisor. Have a look at those three different things. Gaining perspective is everything. Getting curious makes such an enormous difference. Setting yourself up with routines and rituals that nurture you. Giving yourself some space and time to get curious. And all of these things help connect mind, body, soul, which helps us to get more connected to the question, what if it all works out? What if all this is available to me? What if I am more than capable of making this happen? So I'm going to take some time now to stop sharing. You can scan that little QR code if you want to get in touch, or you can just email us, and whether that's because you're looking to hire, or you're looking for an opportunity, or you're looking for training and development. And then I'm just going to stop sharing and take a couple of questions. So pop your questions in the Q&A, or indeed or pop your questions in the chat box, or one or the other. I know that we've got a couple here. Okay, so Jess, I don't know if you're comfortable to come on camera and ask me a couple of the questions that people submitted beforehand, or whether anyone wants to pop a question in the chat box and let me know what is it you'd like me to answer. Any questions from anybody? I know that one of the questions that we had earlier was, how can I speak up at work when I've only just started? And I think, now I've seen some people have raised some hands, but I can't see who that is, and neither can anybody else. So you need to put your questions in the Q&A or in the chat box. And what I would say to you is that they have hired you because of the value that you've got to bring. And one of those key ways that we can all add value is to bring our ideas, hi Jess, to the table and to share them. So we've just got time for 5 minutes of questions. So Jess, did you have any that you wanted to ask or that had come through?
Yeah, sure. We had a question come through before the session asking, how do I not go blank when I'm trying to think through or explain thoughts? How do I maintain that confidence?
Yes. Okay. So for me, I mean, it's going back to old school, power of the post-it. I mean, it's noting down, it's making a note, and having those notes with you is absolutely fine if you are looking to share how you're thinking about something, how you're feeling about something, how you'd like it to move forward. There's nothing wrong with keeping some pointers with you in order that you have something to refer back to. Nothing wrong whatsoever. And I think we've got a couple of questions in the chat box as well, Jess. I don't know if you want to have a just quick look there.
We've had another one come through saying, if you encounter someone without any confidence, what practical tool do you find the best to almost convince them to try it out?
Well, there's one thing you can't do is tell somebody to be more confident and they will just become more confident. It doesn't work. So we need to go right back to the beginning and look at that courage piece. So for me, it would be buying them the gift of perhaps a book from Brené Brown, or a podcast from Tara Brach, or sharing the website for Katie Byron, somewhere where they can start accessing, getting to know themselves and starting to do that work. But we all have to be in a place where we want to do that work. You can't force anybody else. And actually, we are only ultimately responsible for our own actions and what we do. But you can certainly share a couple of those gifts that may make the difference.
That's fantastic, Lucy. We had another one asking, how do you suggest communicating with your principal when you've tried several different approaches, but at each approach, they've given negative feedback? Confidence has really been diminished there.
Okay, so one thing is that the way that somebody gives feedback says more about them than it does about you. So I want you to remind yourself of that. And also, you can't keep going to cold places looking for love. So this may be a them thing. However, what you can do is express to that individual that I acknowledge the feedback you've shared with me as this. I am finding it challenging to know how to utilize that feedback in order that I can do my job better. Could you help me with that? So what you can do then is acknowledge and make a request for something useful from that feedback, and demonstrating that you're really looking to create that partnership with that principal. But reminding yourself that how someone delivers feedback does always say more about them than it does about you. But use what's useful as rocket fuel, because I'm telling you something, we're not very good at taking on feedback. And actually, without it, how do we get better at anything? We tend to immediately get offended or upset. And there are tools to be able to use that. But curiosity is like, oh, it's interesting. Yeah, getting curious is the key.
That's great. Thanks, Lucy. Another one we have is regarding those undermining speech habits that we have ourselves.
Yeah.
How to frame the thoughts and the questions without sounding disrespectful, wanting to say the right thing.
Okay, so instead of I might not be right, I would say I'd really welcome your feedback on this. I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts on this. I'd be interested on your perspective. So what you're saying is, I'm okay, you're okay. You're meeting someone where they're at, rather than when you do say, I might not be right, what immediately happens is you're saying you're probably right and I'm probably wrong. So it's creating that partnership approach. Okay, last question. And I wouldn't be able to comment on therapy. I'm only a trained coach. There is a great book by Nicole LaPera that you might want to look at. But yeah, I wouldn't want to direct anybody in any particular way, but there is a great book called by Nicole LaPera called How to Meet Yourself. If you're interested in having a look at some of the old stuff that might be affecting the current stuff. We all have stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And we had one more question that had come in before the session, Lucy, just about voicing decisions and ideas
Yes.
when starting in a new role.
Okay, so what I would say about that is to plan out what it is you want to say and work and look for how you want to be of service. How is my idea going to be of service? Sorry, my cat is being, I don't know if you can hear that. So goodness. So what I would say is is to have a look at the best made plans and all that. Right, I'm just going to have to move my, oh goodness. Okay, so I think that's throwing me off course a little bit. What I would say is to make sure that you know that what you're looking to say is trying to be of service. Connect with that. And then from that, if you know it's going to be of service, to make your purpose stronger than your fear in order to move through that. Okay, well, listen, I've got to go now because I'm in another speaking gig. Thank you very, very, very much indeed for being here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jess, so much for all of your help and support. I hope you've all got something out of it and you're taking something useful away today. And yeah, really, really glad to spend the time with you, to connect with you all. Please reach out to us afterwards. And yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. We'll send around the recording and all the resources afterwards. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.